Perfect. Okay. Initially, what will happen with this session here, I'll start out on my demo site just to kind of give you the big picture of what we're going to cover today, and then I'll basically give you guys presenter rights. Then I'm just going to kind of walk you through the different features that you have, whether you build or you upload a page, okay, and all the different features that, you know, that come along with the build editor and things of that nature. But initially, my first question is for Peter. Peter, have you been on the intranet? Are you familiar with, you know, the internet, or is it your first time?
No, I've run marketing in the and the organisation, and I've launched the intranet a couple of years ago. So we went through a process to find a platform and eventually decided on Interact. And so it had a, you know, some moderate adoption in the early days, but obviously it's been a really big focus for us in the last sort of couple of months, with Grace working on it to actually make it a more useful tool for as our staff numbers keep growing. So this has been one of the things on the agenda to really drive adoption, and so therefore usability, our knowledge of how to get more out of it, you know, how to make it easier to navigate, all those sorts of things have been really important.
Okay, well, very good. And first of all, that, you know, gives me a little bit of background on you. And then if you're talking about, you know, trying to get, you know, more engagement and people to sometimes buy into the internet, you know, really you have to kind of sell how it benefits them. And, you know, at the last training that I went over with, you know, Justine, Grace, and Derek, you know, we really, at first, you know, first and foremost, we talked about this top global bar, which really is, you know, a lot of it is about the internet user and, you know, teaching them, you know, the importance of, you know, training their eye to, you know, look for their mandatory reads, you know, the utilization of the watches, how that can benefit them with notifications and the favorites. So if you're comfortable with this up here, then we'll go directly into talking about pages. Otherwise, Peter, if you did have any specific questions about the top level items up in here, please go ahead and ask me.
No, all good.
Okay, very good. All right, you guys, so today's focus obviously is migrating content over. And as always, once again, it's all about the internet user. Can they find the pages and things of that nature? So initially, I'm going to start here in my human resources content area, and I'm going to go to a category. Now, initially, what I want to look at is just the potential of a page. So first and foremost, this page here, okay, anytime you push out a mandatory read, it's going to show on the right-hand side. Now, every page has a lot of different options, so you can set, you know, attachments to once again kind of benefit the internet user. So after they read this, you know, maybe you provide them with attachments, and attachments will show up on the right-hand side. Obviously, the author's image is going to show on the right-hand side. People can rate the page. As I said earlier, mandatory reads will show up here. If you put a poll on a page, it shows on the right-hand side. And then you obviously have these Interact Recommends, which is basically just looking at other pages that maybe have a similar title or summary. And once again, it's just kind of offering up other pages for the internet user. And then down at the bottom, you have the ability to comment on pages. And as a reminder, you guys, this one here obviously is, everybody sees these comments. Anytime you need to report privately to the author, you also have the ability down in here to report content to the author, and then only the author actually sees that comment. Now, the reason I want to draw your attention to this kind of right-hand side is that you have the ability in every content area to decide how your content area settings are set. You know, do you want the author's image to show? Do you want the rate the page to be an option? Okay, so you ultimately get to determine your content area settings. Now, to do that, you go underneath administration, and once again, with you guys all being power users, you'd be able to utilize this functionality. Otherwise, you'd have to be set as an administrator within your content area. But once you're in here, there's a tab actually called Content Area Settings. So in this HR content area, what I can do is basically decide how I want it to display the pages. Do I want the author's image to show? If you don't, you just take the check mark out. So you actually have a lot of control how the pages are displayed. This one here, pages to be rated. If you don't want people to rate pages, take that check mark out. Right? The keywords, those show on the right-hand side as well. Right? Interact recommends, those are at the bottom kind of right-hand corner of the page. Allow full width for pages. Go ahead.
Do you set that up every time you create a page, or is it just sort of like a
default?
A default?
But yeah, there is default.
And you can set
Yeah,
it
this.
More the case of where do you do the override? Where do you set the default?
This would be now the default for this entire content area.
Well,
So it wouldn't be on a page-by-page basis.
Yeah. So that's
Okay.
HR. Right. So we're just using HR as an example. Yeah. So when we set up the content areas, whether it be HR, marketing, whatever, each of those can have different defaults. Yeah?
Correct. So every content area, whether that's for, IT, HR, each content area, you guys have the ability to determine how you want it to literally kind of display the pages when people are in that content area. Now there isn't one like overall general setting, like a global setting that says if I set my HR content area settings this way, I would like my IT content area to be the same. You have to go into each content area and determine those settings.
Is there a default? Is there a default setting?
This is the default when you come in. So if there's something you don't like, you guys, you pretty much just take the check marks out. Okay. Now the ones that I'll typically see, if anybody usually takes something out in here, a lot of times it might be the ability to rate a page, because a lot of people are just really a little bit maybe sensitive and they don't want people maybe judging their content or something like that. But otherwise, it'd be completely up to you in here. Now down here, you guys keep this in mind. These are your page features. So today when we're uploading or we're building out a page, every page has the ability to obviously put a mandatory read on it, put a quiz to it. This one is very specific. It's a very specific module that has to be purchased, so it doesn't surprise me when people don't have it, okay? So it's called activities. Comments. Remember at the bottom of the page you can make comments? Well, here what you're saying, if you make a change here, so if I took this check mark out, I am basically stating that in my HR content, I will never push out a mandatory read. Because what it does is it takes that functionality away from the pages when I go to actually upload or build. So a lot of times you want that flexibility. So just be aware that if right here, if you knew for 100% sure that you didn't want people to be able to comment on any of the pages that were produced out of HR, this would be a very fast way of doing it, because now anytime you upload or build a page, this functionality wouldn't be a part of it. All right, so just know that you do have actual content area settings. Okay. Now the other thing I want to just kind of show you guys, because you might not be aware of, is every category has its own settings as well. So if I went into Justine's office and I pulled out a folder, and every time I opened up the folder, maybe she had organized it by title, so it was ascending order. Or maybe every time I opened it up, it was always the latest or the most recent page in the folder was shown. You actually can determine the organization of actually every single folder. So for example, this PTO one, okay? Now, if I want to change my category settings, once again, I'm going to go underneath Manage Content Area. But this time, I'm not changing my entire content area settings. I literally just want to focus on a category. So here's a category. So when I open up the category, you're going to notice that there's a tab for category settings. Okay, so every category actually can have it, or does have its own category settings. And here's some of your options in here. Once again, when somebody opens up the category or opens up that folder, do you want the author's image to show? Do you want publication date to show? Okay, do you want last, updated date? Images. This one here, you guys, confuses people. It's called redirect on a single page. So same thing, I go into Justine's folder, I open it up, and if there's only one page in there, I can automatically see the page because there's only one in there. It's the same concept here. In a category, you guys, if there's only one page in it, when the internet user opens it, it automatically is told to basically redirect it and open it when there's a single page in a category. Now, as soon as you get two in there, then that's when you get that thumbnail look, and then they can actually then choose which one they actually want to open. Okay, so sometimes that'll throw people off. They'll open up a category and it automatically opens it for them. They go to open up another category and then they have to select which one they want. Okay, so if that bothers you, you could just take that out, and then even though there's only one page in it, it would show the thumbnail and it would force the internet user to click and open it. Search panel, which I really like the search panel. It's actually at the top of the category, and I'll show you that here very, very shortly. You get to determine, the same thing when they open it, how does it display the pages? One column with the thumbnail. If you know you're going to maybe have a lot of pages in there, you can maybe set it to 2 column. Thumbnail's a little smaller, but they can see more pages. You can see the abbreviated's the same concept, but there's no thumbnail icon associated with it. Okay, so your choice in there. And this is where you get to set specific grouping. Okay, so if I wanted it to be titles, then I could choose A to Z and then I match it up, A to Z or Z to A. So just make sure you match these accordingly. If I'm looking for a specific date grouping, then maybe it's the newest first or the oldest first. Okay, so you get to choose on that as well. You just have to obviously match accordingly. You get to determine how many they show when they initially open up the category. By default, it's set to 10. Okay. And this is probably one of my favorite features in here that a lot of people don't know about. It's actually a nice little editor in here. So if you had a category and maybe you had some almost disclaimer type of information, you could write a little message. It'd be the same thing, like I open up a folder and on the inside jacket somebody's wrote a message, maybe telling me about, you know, who these pages are meant for, those type of things. I could also insert, this I was demonstrating for somebody earlier this morning, so I inserted an image. So I actually have the ability to go out to the media manager and insert an image. So it'd be like, once again, somebody maybe taping an image or a picture, you know, to the inside jacket of a folder. So you can put anything pretty much you want in here. I could put a video if I wanted to. And then once that is saved, from the internet user's perspective, so now when I open this category, so I've changed the settings, so there's where that message displays. Okay, in that little editor, there's that picture I brought in. There's the search panel. Okay, remember that was one feature that you could either leave or take the check mark out of. And there's why this folder here actually is set to do A to Z formatting, A to ascending order, apologize for that, as opposed to my other ones, like this one I've never gone in and messed with the categories. So notice it is actually done by date. So it's not A to Z. All right. And once again, you guys, that was just under Manage Content Area, and then that time I went directly into the actual category itself. Okay. All right, up to this point, you guys, with Content Area settings, or going into a category and knowing that you also have settings in there, any questions regarding those two things?
Nope, all good.
Okay, very good. Okay. All right, the last thing, because we're going to look at one of these features here very shortly. When I open a page real quick, there's a feature in here that you're going to see shortly called default to full width. So when you're uploading or building a page, if you ever tell the page to default to full width, this is what it would look like when the internet user opens it up. Okay? Which I think, you guys, for some of your pages, it's okay. But the other thing I just want you to be cognizant of is what it does to the information on the right-hand side. So if a mandatory read was placed on it, they might not even know how to click that button. So you'd have to assume that your internet user is fairly savvy and they know to click the button. Once again, if you had provided them with attachments, they might not know that you have something over here. So just anytime you see that default to full width, just really kind of think about if there's something on the right-hand side that's of value, you may not want to set that as the feature. All right, I think that's pretty much just what I wanted to demo to give you a fairly good idea of what we're going to look at today. Now what I'm going to do is make you guys a presenter. So Grace, I'm sending over presenter permissions to you. And on the first one, you guys, what we're going to do, we'll do the build one first because it takes the longest just because it has the editor in it. And then after that, everything else is pretty straightforward. So we'll do the one that takes a little bit more time and just do that one first.
Cool. Do I need to do anything else?
Yeah, if you could just basically share out or show the intranet screen. Because right now I'm just seeing your content author training dialog box. I can see your screen.
How do you do that? How do I do that? Really just...
Maybe, is it opened up in Chrome? Click on that Chrome icon down on your, in that bottom task kind of menu of your, yeah, there you go. Do you have, I think you're open there. Yeah, click on that and bring that to the forefront, please. Yeah, I can see the Hive in that small menu.
So it's not sharing this screen? No.
No.
How do I do that?
No.
Last time it did it for me. Okay. What was that? Because you can see it now, can you?
I can see it now, yes, thank you.
Yeah, sorry, it's just not sharing on my big screen. Like I've got the...
E-mirror, where are you extending?
Okay, well that is perfect. So are you going to be okay, Grace, kind of working with it with whatever screen you're currently looking at? Oh, there we go.
Yeah, there we go. You can see it now?
I can, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, Grace, go into a content area for me, and we'll delete these pages, you guys. But we are going to just go through some of your features. It can be news and events. It can be the document library. Anywhere you would like to basically kind of work today.
Cool. We want to work on this copy. So you have control of the mouse as well, Sherry. So
okay.
If you want to go for it.
Very good. Thank you for that. Okay. All right. What we're going to do is go ahead.
This is Derek's project that we're a little bit confused on, only because he wants to make pages and put them with the, is it IMAP?
iFrame.
iFrame, sorry, feature, except we were struggling with that. That's why there's no content, but it would be good to go through it on this page so he knows how to build.
We can destroy this content. So
basically that's
it's a test area.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to pull pages through, you need to use the content widget.
No. Remember I wanted to open up a URL inside the Hive.
Yeah,
so
but
like we understand that you can pull it from this widget here, but when you go on the page, so is this feature not actually it's got, where is it? Here, iframe.
You can,
and then
now within a build page, you do have an iframe in there, but you're pulling in like another website or something. Or something with
yeah, so that's what we do, like as part of this content area, we're going to make pages, but we also want a few of the pages to have content from other websites. So when we were doing this, it wasn't working.
Well, and it's option, it's a link. So they just click on whichever link they want, but they're staying within Interact or within Hive while they're looking at the other content. We just couldn't work out how to create multiple links on the left-hand side.
Well, with the iframe, I'm not sure, really what, like I said, this was kind of geared for is to bring in obviously maybe like another, website or obviously anything with a URL. But you got to realize it can get blocked literally three different, a URL can get blocked several different reasons. If you think about a URL, it can get blocked first and foremost at your browser level. Secondly, it can be blocked up in the cloud. And thirdly,
it's all internal content.
You can try it through here.
I'm
It's
accessing internal websites.
Do you want to show what's the...
like I said, you can put one in there, and if it works, it'll pull it through. If it
Yeah,
doesn't,
we can do it. We've tested it, so we can do it, but we can just kind of do the first page, and then we just can't seem to do any more pages after that.
So like it would work in the widget, like when you make that home page widget, but it wouldn't work when you're building it in the page. So it, like even if I do Google, yeah, and then you go like that, it just comes up with this iframe icon.
preview the page. First and foremost, you never see an iframe come through until you preview it. There's a preview button kind of towards the top. There you go. So that's really the only way to test it, is to kind of hit that preview button, because otherwise you're in an edit mode and you're just going to see literally the iframe to kind of hold its spot. Now the only thing you guys can do is if you've tested a site in the widget and it works, but yet it won't do the same thing in the actual iframe that's in the editor, the only thing you guys can do is submit a ticket to Interact and see if they can troubleshoot the actual editor's iframe.
Okay, all right.
Because the fact you got it to work already tells me you know the purpose and how to set up the iframe. The fact that it's not working in the editor tells me right away you need to submit a ticket. And what I would do, you guys, if you, when you end up submitting
I think it's more the case we're not getting through to you how we want it done.
well, show me how you want it done then.
So like where you got like PABX, yeah, or after that I would want another heading, another heading, another heading. And each of those headings I could click on, it would just open up a URL for me within the Hive. So it's like a big favourites bar kind of thing, almost.
For links, are you trying to give them links to other pages?
Links to other websites.
Okay, if you want something in that left-hand menu and you want links, you have to create them as a link.
So do you want
to create a couple of links there, just put them to Google, put them to anything common, hp.com, just common sites, just to show how it's done, please.
Grace, go to administration. Nope, you were right there, young lady.
Oh, sorry.
Manage content area. Upper right-hand corner, add menu item. Second row down, third one to the far right, link. Put in your URL. Give it a name. Now here, Grace, you need the full HTTP. So if you're going to do Google or something, it does need that full HTTP in front of it.
Colon, //
Now where it says link name, you can just put in Google.
But this is going to take you to an external website.
Correct. Young lady, see where it says open in, Grace?
Oh, sorry.
Best practices, you guys, what you'd want to do is, it's set to work. But go back underneath it. See in that middle area, Grace, you see you got that Google link. It's the second one down. Yeah, go back into the edit mode, please. And anytime it's an external link, you give it a new window. If it's an internal link, then it's the same window. So always give them a new window. And then right now it's set to just save under that, that top menu called copy serve. It could live under any menu, technically once those other menus get built out. But you can have as many links in that left-hand menu as you want. They could be internal, they could be external.
Yeah, but it's not displaying in the right-hand side. It's completely opening a new page.
Yeah, so that's what she's saying. You can make a link, but if you want to make the iframe, we have to do a ticket because it's not functioning properly. But the iframe would be the solution.
In the actual, but it would be per build page, so I'm not really sure that's what you're after either.
Yeah, so the other question is like, for example, copy serve. it has this home page where you can have a widget. Are you able to make other home pages in the one content area?
You only get one home page per content area. So CopyServe has one, what we call kind of a landing page or its own home page. So you couldn't have CopyServe and have two landing pages for it. Every content area only has one.
Yeah, so the solution is we build the page with the iframe. However, at the moment it doesn't seem to be working. But that could just be easily solved. Okay, anyway, let's continue.
Sorry, Sharon, coming out of a SharePoint environment where obviously that's just 5 seconds to set it up, so I would have thought this would have at least had those features.
Now they've added the ability to connect to SharePoint.
No,
Yeah, no. I'm trying to get away from SharePoint. This is what I'm trying to do.
Okay. I understand.
I'm trying to promote the Hive by dragging my content out of SharePoint into the Hive. And you're not helping me.
without rebuilding.
Yeah.
We can just create a link that would, well, we should be, okay, so we can do it, but we need to do it via some sort of ticketing.
I think it's just not working properly. So, yeah, for me to be able to fix it.
The functionality?
No, it's there. So, like, for example,
But access to the
I
functionality.
think it's an easy thing to set up. Well, once you know how to set up, it's dropping out.
yeah, so this is the iframe, so it's there. Yeah, and like, I just have to put it in, but when it's coming up, it doesn't seem to be presenting the information.
So the first page we can get it to. Yep, beautiful, comes up. But then we couldn't do subsequent pages from there on in.
But at least you know the answer now. It's just building that page under the different headings. But I just need to get it functioning.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Alrighty. That should be fine.
Okay, so within here in Grace, you are fine where you were, young lady. So when it comes to building out either new content or taking some of your existing content and obviously migrating it over into the internet, really the most two common choices obviously is to upload existing content that you may have or to literally just rebuild it, and then that way the information truly does live within the internet itself. Okay, so that's the one advantage of building versus the upload process. All right, so before we look at that, were there any other specific questions that you guys had before we get too far?
No, I think that was the main one, just because it's coming from like the company website for the customer service team, so it would be good to have that information there, so then they just go to the Hive instead of going to different pages on our website.
Okay.
But yeah, that's fine.
All right, so we'll look at some of your different features, and that way at least, you guys are probably familiar with the editor since it looks like you've been playing around with it, but we'll just make sure you're very comfortable with it. All right, so Grace, go back and...
Sorry, Jerry, remind me one more thing. With the digest page, even though I haven't made this active yet for all users, the digest tells me that here's content you may have missed this week.
No, I did make it active for everyone.
We did make it.
I did.
But as in the CopyServe tab, no one else can see that.
Oh, no, but because you're a power user,
yep,
you get to see everything that you've created or made, but no one else saw that.
That's right.
So that was fine. That was solved.
Okay, all right,
All good.
All right, Grace, let's go underneath administration. And then there'll be the first option, okay, the add page. Like I said, we'll look at the build page first. Yeah, so let's create a build page. All right, so let's just scroll down here a little ways, Grace, and let's just make sure you're comfortable with all of the different, features within the editor. So obviously the very first panel, you guys, is your ability to copy and cut, paste existing content directly into the actual editor itself. Okay. Now I typically, if I'm, say bringing something over from Word, I do the Control-C, and then a lot of times I'll just copy directly into the editor itself. Now, When you do that, the nice thing about doing it with that format is it brings over words formatting. So if something was bold, it'll keep it. If you had a link, it would keep it, those type of things. The disadvantage of doing that is whatever font your editor is set to, not all your pages obviously are going to look consistent when it comes to formatting. Okay, so you'll just kind of have to make a decision. If you want all your content creators for every page to look the same, I would probably have them pasted in as plain text and then reformat it as needed. Okay, so but completely up to you guys. Hey, Grace, do you have a Word document we can just copy some text over? So that way you don't have to waste your time with typing stuff. Yeah, if you can just open up anything, it really doesn't matter what you have. Some, you know, if you can browse out to a Word document.
I don't know what this is, but we'll give it a go. Okay.
I guess as long as it's not confidential. If you could copy that text and paste it into the editor, that way we just have some text to kind of work with.
Oh, you guys can't see it anyway.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. All right, so at least we got some text here, and Grace doesn't have to do a bunch of typing in here today. All right, now the source button. So if anybody on your staff has HTML code, yeah, you can click the source button, and actually you can go in here, if you know HTML, you can write some code, or you can do a lot of your editing and things of that nature. Now, a lot of us don't know a lot of HTML or not very comfortable with it, so the nice thing about it is you don't have to know any HTML to create really nice, beautiful pages. Yep, and then when you're done with it, they're like light switches, you just turn it off there. And so that's what the source does. The next icon to the right is like the in Word, you know, you can do like a print preview. It's that. It opens up in its own window. Okay. And then when you're done with it, you can just close it out. So you can kind of do a quick print preview if needed. Obviously, if you're set to print, you've got the print icon. And then the one to the right that looks like it's got like 4 arrows, its ability to maximize the editor. And then same thing, when you want to minimize it, you actually click the same exact button. Okay. So you can maximize and minimize if needed. Okay. Do you guys use videos a lot in some of your pages?
Not a lot, but there's things like training videos or health and safety videos. Yeah.
Okay. Where do a lot of those, where do those videos reside?
You have some go-to things that are sitting in under LinkedIn, Sales Navigator, and there's the Salesforce thing that he's created.
Yeah, potentially.
So really with the videos, you guys, if you're going to embed a video, you need the embed code. So a lot of our customers, if they have a lot of videos, you know, they may store them because they have so many, you know, out on like YouTube or Vimeo or something like that. So as long as you can get to the embed code of a video, then that's when you can use that little icon that actually reads YouTube. Yes, yeah, Grace, it's to the right of the maximize. There it is. And once you have the embed code, then you just paste it in here. Do you guys have anything out on YouTube or anything, or is they located other places?
Just go to YouTube and grab an example, yeah, on the front page or whatever, so just so we know.
Stop your access.
Sorry?
You guys used to stop our access.
Well, I used to, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm more liberal.
Yeah, we didn't have access to anything.
I'm more liberal.
Not even. Speech was out of bounds. Even I had to get special access.
Okay,
So just, yeah, cut the top page.
All right, Grace, on here, see where the title is Voltage Power, and then below that there's a subscribe button, and below that is a share button. Click on share, thank you, and then you're going to see embed immediately below it. It's already selected, so you just have to copy it. So what we're after is the embed code, and then you're going to paste that back into, yeah, right in there. You say okay, and now you have a video. So as long as you can get to the embed code of something, you can actually embed videos very easily.
Okay, so the iframe is the previous. Right.
Cool. Is that what you were thinking doing with the other one?
No, we just thought that meant error.
Right. Where it's actually there.
Yeah. But it may also be because I wasn't putting HTTP before.
Yeah, and if it's a secure site, a lot of times you need that HTTPS.
Okay.
So yeah, so keep that in mind as well. Sometimes that'll throw you off. Okay? But as you can see there, you guys, if you did have a video, and obviously if you can get to the embed code, very easy, very straightforward to add some nice videos, okay, to some of your pages if needed. Okay? All right, Grace, go ahead if you wouldn't mind, and just maybe after the video, just go ahead and place your cursor. Maybe see where it says case studies. Yeah, just go ahead and hit your enter key one time. And let's drop that text down. And then place your cursor right above it. There you go. And you are right. Let's go to the Media Manager and look at some of your options in here. So within some of your pages,
when you're copying from Word, images won't get copied over. Is that right?
What do you mean it won't get copied over?
Like if you're just copying, pasting a document from Word to the page builder, the images will get deleted.
Correct. So what will happen is it'll put a placeholder where that image used to reside, and then what you can do is save that image, maybe like to your desktop or something, and then you can when you're in the Media Manager, if let's say you're not seeing the image you want, see, Grace, where it says add image kind of towards the top? Yeah. You actually can then browse out and go upload it where it says choose file, and then you could bring that image into the Media Manager.
Okay.
Look like logo.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So absolutely. Okay. All right. So for today, Grace, go ahead and just select us an image in here. Whatever you want. And once you've selected, let's go ahead and just bring in the web ready size. That should be large enough. Okay. So a lot of times, you guys, the image, you might just want an image, and that's it. Okay. So a lot of people, like I said, an image can really kind of enhance a page. Now you can also take the image and take it to the next level and put a link on it. So when they click it, maybe it goes and opens up a website. Okay, you've got your logo out there. Every time they click it, it goes and opens actually your website. Okay, so you can take it a step further. Now, Grace, yeah, right click, thank you, on the image, and then go down to where it says Image Properties. Okay, now a couple things in here, you guys, just some basic stuff. Obviously, you can change the width and the height. You can add border, H space, V space, so real basic stuff in here. But Grace is headed right to where I was going, the Link tab. Now on the Link tab, once again, Grace, it needs that full HTTP, that full URL. Then anytime you guys are creating links, I'm always going to strongly urge you, look for the target, and it's not always in the same place. But make sure if it's an external site, you give them a new window. If it's internal, keep them in the same window. Okay. So Grace, go ahead and put your company's URL up in there.
And obviously you need the HTTP.
Perfect. And then Grace, choose your target there as a new window. Perfect. And then go ahead and say OK to that. So you guys can just have images. You can insert as many images as you want, or you can actually make them clickable by putting a link on them. And once again, very engaging, once again, for the internet user. All right.
You'll see a language there. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, any questions with putting a link on an image, you guys?
What is the benefit of the new page? The new...
It opens up a completely page.
Like so when you click on it. Yeah.
Right, as compared to...
Well, you can...
If you still want to read
the thought is when you're inside a website, if you go to different tabs, you want to be able to navigate backwards and forwards within it, whereas if you go with something external, you might want to have that in a completely new window.
Okay. It opens a new...
Yeah, correct.
Okay, got it. Yep. A new link.
Yeah, it's just one of those best practices.
Yeah, no, I got it now. Got it. Yep.
All right, we know what the iframe obviously has done. You guys have already utilized and tried to work with the iframe. You do have default templates that come with the actual editor itself. And by default, there should be 3 in there. Grace, go ahead and click on there and let's just see what templates are provided for you. Yep, that icon right there. So prior to starting the build page, if you knew exactly you just wanted basically an image and a title, they would have some preset just default templates for you to start with. Okay, so completely up to you. Grace, what's the very bottom one? Okay, so there's the text in the table. Yeah, okay. Do a Control Z. Yeah, go back. There you go, we're fine. I just wanted to see what that bottom one was. Now, the one to the right of that is the ability to create templates. Now, power users can create templates. Right? Now, here's what you would do if you ever wanted to use this. You would get the editor just the way you like it. Maybe your logo in the upper left-hand corner, and then maybe your different headings are all heading 2s or heading 3s or whatever it needs to be. So you get the formatting just the way you want it. Then you would come into here and you would create a title that's going to make sense. Give it a description. And then you would click Save. And then when you click Save, basically what it does is it captures whatever was built out in that editor. And then the next time somebody goes to do a build page, then they would be presented with not only the 3 default templates that you're provided with, but any template saved by a power user would also then be in that same first dialog box. You just add them to the bottom. So you can have your own
for example, if you wanted a page with like our company letterhead and those details, you could save that as a template?
Yes, you could.
For your announcement. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool.
Absolutely. All right, great job on that. Go ahead and cancel out of there. All right, to the right of the ability, obviously, to create table is a table. So if you've ever been in Word and you insert table, it's the same concept. You tell it how many rows, how many columns, is it going to have a header, cell padding, cell spacing, all that good stuff. So it's just another way to display information if you need it, as opposed to just typing out text. Okay, so you need a rows and columns type of a look. Okay. Now, everybody likes the ability to click on text. So think about when we're on the internet and it says click here and it goes and opens up something, or it downloads a schedule or something like that. You can do the same thing once again for your internet user. So within here, Grace, I don't care, you can select any word, any text in here that you have. So the biggest thing is you just select some text. And then you click on the link, and then once again, you guys, it's going to want to know the URL. Now here, notice the protocol to the left, it already has the HTTP, so technically you would just really need the www.google.com or whatever, okay? And then now here, once you set it, if once again, it could be an internal link, could be an external link. Now notice that the target is actually its own separate tab, so if it's external, then give it a new window, okay? So just know that anytime you set that link, sometimes that target is not always in the same spot, so you might have to search for it a little bit. Okay, so you can have clickable text very easily, to open up different things. Okay.
Cool.
All right, so Grace, yep, you can either set something or cancel out, kind of whatever your comfort zone is there. All right, so clickable text, pretty straightforward. Have you guys ever utilized anchors or what they call hyperlinks with inside of a build page?
Well, hyperlink is what we were just doing.
Yeah.
Isn't that the proper term for it, what we were just doing with the URLs?
No, you created an external link or an internal link to something completely different than this page. A hyperlink within inside of a build page navigates you inside the page itself.
Oh, so it takes you to top of the
like
page.
to top or bottom.
So think about some of those large Word documents you guys have seen where the author is very nice and they create you a nice table of contents, and then you click on it and it actually takes you down so you can read the very specific information about that particular item. You can do the same thing in here for your internet users. So hyperlinks here with anchors, they're internal links within the actual page itself. Everything else we've done is an external link that takes them to another site or somewhere else. Okay? Now, how you do this, you guys, and it's really a nice feature for the intranet user, okay, if you got some larger build pages. So first of all, you get your page just the way you want it. Okay, and then, yeah, so that would be fine, Grace. Then click on the one that looks like a flag. It's actually called an anchor. Then just go ahead and name it Case Studies. All right, then go ahead and say OK to that. Now, Grace, go to the top of this page, of the build page. There you go. And maybe above, yeah, above that iframe, can you establish, let's see what, yeah. And just put, for more information on case studies, you know, click here or something like that. So we'll provide them with an internal, in essence, link or a hyperlink. Okay. Now, it's once you get the anchors created, you guys, then Grace is correct. She selects the text that she wants to become, in essence, clickable. Now, Grace, go back to the link icon, because now we're going to link to your anchor. So, young lady, you are fine. So go back to the top. You still, okay, you still got that text selected. Yeah, the link icon, perfect. But here's the difference. It's not going to a URL. See where it says link type? Change it to an anchor, link to an anchor. Then you'll see the drop down for the anchor name, the one that you just created, and then you can assign it basically so when they click it, it literally drops them down to the actual area where you've got that anchor set. So like I said, fantastic. You guys, if you want to create like a nice little table of contents at the top, if they click it, it drops them down.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, showed you that's fine.
Does it matter if you don't have both selected?
No, really, you just need the anchor name. That's it. Anchor name is the key. Now, what I've seen some organizations do, because they have obviously some very large pages, is not only will they create that nice table of contents, and then obviously they click it and it drops them down to that text, but let's say I click it and I go down and there's maybe 3 or 4 paragraphs that maybe talk about that particular topic or, you know, whatever it is. What they'll do then after the, you know, the last paragraph, they'll put in some text that says, you know, something like return to TOC. And then once again, when they click it, it then takes them back to the anchor that would have been basically created at the table of contents. So they can not only drop down to text, but then they can return back to the table of contents. So it's a really nice way to navigate large build pages. The other place I've seen it used a lot is with large pages where they've got footnotes and things of that nature. So they've cited something in the body of the actual page itself. They click on the footnote number and it drops them down to where the reference is if they wanted to, you know, get more information. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Like I said, the intranet user will love you if you provide them with some internal navigation. But you create your page first, get your anchors set, and then you select your text and then create a link to those different anchors. All right, Grace, the next item over to that anchor, you've already done that. When I had you insert an image, and I had you do the right click and I had you go down to image properties and you could resize it or add a border. We added the link. It's the same thing. If you click on it, it's the image properties. So for some of our internet users, they do not like the right click. Well, they could still get to those same features of an image if they click on the same button. Okay, so you can cancel out of here since we've already covered it. It's just a button. Have you guys used an image map before?
Nope.
Yeah, in an internet site, yeah, so like you put a picture of your country on there and then you be able to select each state. You draw lines around each state so you can put a separate click, a link on each state.
Correct, yeah. It's the ability to put multiple links on one image. Okay. All right, so Grace in here, let's go ahead and put your cursor underneath, or let's basically put your cursor underneath that other image. We've already got a link on one image here. Yeah, so let's just drop that text down. There you go. Okay, so let's bring in another image, and the WebReady is a decent size to do this. So whatever image you want, and then WebReady 600 be good size. All right, Grace, what we're going to do a right click, and this time go down to Edit Image Map. All right, here's what you're going to do. Across the top, you guys, you have different tools. You got a rectangle, you got a square, you got a polygon. Now, the square's already selected, or rectangle's already selected for you, Grace. The key to this is when you left click, hold the click, don't let up. Okay, so left click at the top left-hand corner of the image. So upper. All right, so go ahead, young lady, and click on that very fourth icon over. See the rectangle? Yeah, okay, so I just want to make sure that nothing was deleted out, removed in there. All right, so try that again. So left click, upper left-hand corner of the image. Yep, so we got the rectangle tool selected. Yes. Now hold the click and drag. Yes, keep that click held down. And basically cut this image in half and then start to, yeah, perfect. Okay, so we could do it this way. We could have done it, you know, top to bottom. Okay, so your choice. Now, when you left click again, Grace, when you think you're done with anchoring it, you're going to know it's anchored because it's going to give you a standing red frame in essence. So left click, there you go. All right, now see where it says URL? Once again, you do need that full HTTP and the rest of the address. Okay. But this gives you the ability to create multiple links on one image if needed. Oh, okay, so we got one to YouTube perfectly. Yep, and then give it a title, just call it YouTube. No, we're not quite done yet. And then link target on the right-hand side, new window. All right, now you can do that same thing, Grace, on the bottom portion of the image. Left click. Yep, so left click, and you're going to hold that click and drag down. There you go, nice job. And like I said, you'll know when you get that freestanding frame. Okay. Yep, and then you just create your second URL in there. So anything, you know, Google, Yahoo, whatever you want. Hey, Grace, check the beginning of that URL. It looks like it says HH maybe. There you go. Once again, just throw in a quick title, set your link target. All right, it's hard to tell if that second one took, but I think you got it in there. Oh.
Okay, now it's good.
Okay, I think you got it now. All right, so go ahead and say okay to that. And hover over the image and let's see if we can, it should, okay, so there's the Google one. And then what do you have at the top? YouTube. Okay, very good. So an image map is just that. It's one image with multiple links on it. All right, and then the last feature, you guys, that you could potentially use in this editor, across the top anyway, is the App Mention tool. Now the App Mention tool, obviously you can App Mention a variety of things. A profile, you can App Mention another page, and when they click it, it would go open up the page. You can App Mention pretty much anything. A lot of times what I'll see people use it for, and you guys get to use it for whatever you want, you could say for more information, contact, and then put in somebody's App Mention. So, you know, for more information, contact Justine, and when they clicked on Justine's name, it would then basically it provides them with a business card information. So it's kind of nice sometimes to provide the profile. But like I said, you could App Mention another page, and when they click on the page name, it goes and opens it. So keep that in mind. It's kind of nice to utilize that App Mention tool. Okay. And then you guys, honestly, across the bottom, just real basic formatting options. Obviously, you could have a bulleted list, a numbered list, just like you can in Word. You can obviously left, center, right, and justify text, bold, italicize, underline. Now, the one thing under that format, the only thing I'm going to recommend on this, you guys, your titles always come in as a heading 1. So really anything else in the body should always be basically smaller than a heading 1, because the title obviously should be the most dominant. Okay. But otherwise you can pick whatever heading sizes you want. Okay. Then otherwise you can make font color changes and background changes. Okay. All right, you guys, with anything in the editor, any specific questions you had?
No, I think we're all good.
Okay. All right, Grace, let's just go up here real quick, and where it says title and summary, you can just put in test build page or something like that for today's purposes if you want. Now, when you're doing this, obviously, for real, and you're actually building new content, your summary actually is very important. If you can always try to remember to have at least 2 to 3 really solid sentences, anywhere from 18 to 20 words. And the rationale behind that is, you guys, if there are, when somebody's searching upon, you know, a keyword or something like that, and if it brings back, say, 3 or 4 similar titles, the summary is the next thing that we always look at, okay, before we decide if we're going to open something. So the summary actually is very, very important. On the right-hand side, we'll go over these options here. Grace, see where it says add attachment? You're almost on it. There you go. Over here, you guys, you can provide them with, so maybe you've got some other PDF documents or other Word documents, anything that you can pretty much browse out to, you can attach. Okay, so Grace, just go and attach anything you want. I just want you to see first and foremost how easy it is, and secondly, what it would look like when we actually do publish the actual page itself. Okay, so we've got a Word document in there. Perfect. Now, there you go. Scroll down just a little ways, young lady. Just let me make sure there's nothing else. See on the bottom there it says add manual link. Here's once again another way that you can actually provide them with a link. So once again, you need that full URL. You need the link title. You determine if it's a new window versus the same window. And then you click on add link. So there's a variety of different ways you can actually provide links kind of throughout your pages.
And will that come up on the side rather than in the document?
Correct, correct. Yep, all right. Yeah, go ahead and attach your files. You're correct, it shows up in that same area, so any attachments that you had and any manual links that you provide them would show up once again on that right-hand side for the internet user. And then down below that, once you've had your attachments, then you've got obviously your details, author versus owner. Remember, the true distinction between this is the owner is the one that's ultimately responsible for the content. So when a change needs to be made, they're usually the ones that say, okay, the third paragraph needs to be changed, or we need to update something. So they're truly responsible for the content itself, which means all notifications come to the owner. Now, sometimes it's the same person, owner and author are the same, but sometimes they can be 2 separate people. Okay, so, but the owner receives the notifications. Okay. Then obviously below that you can assign it an image. So it looks like you've got maybe a default image already chosen. All right, Grace, scroll up just a little ways and let's look at the second tab over, the features tab, please. So a little bit to your left, there you go. All right, you guys, some of the features in here. Now earlier, I told you that you could set a page to default to full width, and then obviously when the internet user opens it, it kind of pushes out the author's image, any attachments, anything on that right-hand side. So I like the feature, but just be cognizant of when you've provided them with attachments and things like that, might not be the best time to use default to full width. Okay, but you definitely have that option. In here, obviously, they allow comments, so you still could decide if you didn't want comments to be associated with this page. You could take that check mark out. Anytime you establish something, you guys, is a key page. So if I go into, say, Derek's office, and once again I pull out a folder, and every time I opened up that folder, if the same page was always at the top, almost like he pinned it there, that's what a key page is. It pins it to the top of the category. So every time somebody opens up a category, that page is always the very first one at the top. Okay, so you can make things key pages. This is where you turn on mandatory reads. Now notice the very first time you go to do this, so Grace, if you click where it says turn on mandatory read, you're going to get a little message. It says, please note you must save the page before this functionality is available. Okay, so it's going to remind you that we at least have to save it, and then we can come back into the edit mode and turn on a mandatory read. It's the same with a quiz or a poll. It has to be at least saved one time for that functionality to work for us. Okay, so we can't quite do that quite yet. Down at the bottom though, see that recommended content? What that's referring to is, remember on the bottom right hand side of a page, you have the Interact recommends, and it's just offering up additional pages that may be of value. Well, here's your ability to put time constraints around it. Otherwise, honestly, if you don't, it still does its job. You're just saying only offer up pages if they were published within the last 8 months or last 6 months. Okay, so it's just time constraints around it. All right, your third tab over, the Discovery tab. We'll just kind of work our way through here. Okay, so this is your ability to provide additional, searchability for the internet user. Grace, click in where it says hashtags. Do you guys use hashtags much, or are you more keyword oriented?
I think we've been using keywords.
Yeah, and you're no different really than 99% of the groups I work with. We're extremely still keyword, I guess, comfortable because of how we use Google and Bing and those type of things. We type in a few words, hit enter, and we just see what the search results come back with. Okay, so hashtags haven't quite caught up yet.
So like, for example, with the keywords and tags, should you be putting the same ones in both?
You could. Now, the chance, go ahead and try to type something in there, Grace. Most likely you can't.
Okay.
If you want to use hashtags, it actually has to be turned on.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's why, it's not that it doesn't work. So when you go down to a keyword, Grace can put in a keyword right now. Now remember, you guys, your title, your summary, the body's already searchable, so if you can kind of think outside, the box, fantastic. I know sometimes it's difficult, but, you can provide additional keywords. Once we publish this, you guys, I'll show you how to turn on hashtags if you think at some point in time you might want to use them. But by default, they're not turned on. You have to actually make a conscious decision to allow hashtags to be used. Now, the other thing you can do on this tab here is not only add, keywords and things like that, but you can also do what we call add a relationship. Now, it's similar but yet different to an attachment. Now, the attachment that Grace did on the right-hand side, she clicked browse, and she had to go out to her desktop or to the C drive, somewhere where she had to actually browse out to. Okay, and then actually she has an attachment. The add relationship, the content has to live in the internet first and foremost, and then the other benefit of it is it puts a link on both, so it doesn't matter which page they open up, they're provided with a link to the other one. So Grace, click where it says add relationships. Okay. Now where it says page, find a page, can you think of maybe another page that might already live in the internet? Yeah. All right, perfect. Now, here's the key to this, you guys. Let's say that at some point in time this brings up 4 or 5 pages and you're not quite sure which one it is. If you click on the actual verbiage, the name of it, it actually opens up the page in another window so you can confirm if that's truly what you wanted. Now, if you know that that's the page, then notice to the right-hand side, there's actually that little black check mark. You have to identify that this is the correct page that you want. Yep, so you'll click on that. Try that again, Grace. Usually it kind of makes it kind of gray all the way across. I just want to make sure it recognized it. Okay, well it must have. All right, click on Add Relationship. And now see where it says Reverse Relationship? So here's what it's going to do for you. If the internet user opens up the page called MirrorWave Supporting Documents, it's going to provide them with a link to the build page that Grace is currently working on. Okay, so it puts a link on both, which is a nice feature because obviously if they're related somehow, it would make sense to have that link on both. So Grace, all we do there is put the check mark in there, tell it to add relationship. And once again, you guys, this will then show up on the, go ahead and put, yeah, there you go. So you have to confirm that yes, that's what you want. And then you click on add relationship. And once again, it would show up on the right-hand side, kind of underneath where the attachments show up once again for the internet user. Okay? So the difference, remember, is the content has to live in the internet itself, but then the benefit of it is you can do the reverse relationship, so it puts the link on both pages. All right, so that basically covers the Discovery tab. The Dates tab up here, so when we click on the Dates tab, it's basically going to state that Grace is going to be publishing it on August 10th, and that on August 10th of 2018, it's going to expire. And then on July 10th, 1 month from its expiration date, then whoever the owner is, so that's Grace, would get a notification basically stating, such and such a page is due for review. Now, Grace has, in essence, 1 month to go in and kind of action it, which means she goes into the edit mode. If she needs to make changes, she makes the changes and republishes it for another year. If there's no changes to be made, she basically just republishes it for another year. But it basically forces your content creators to basically review their content, make sure it's correct, so that the internet user can trust all the content as well. All right, Grace, let's go ahead and bottom right-hand corner, let's go ahead and publish it, and let's go ahead and see what it would look like from an internet user's perspective. So bottom right-hand corner, let's go ahead and publish. Oh, put it, yeah, has to live in a category. All right, now here's the nice thing about this, you guys, because you are a power user, and two things. First and foremost, you're a power user, but the second thing is you're using the new editor, and the new editor has a really nice feature. If you had forgotten to create a category prior to uploading this page, you can still do it at this point in time. All of your hard work would not be lost. Yeah, you click right in there, add new category. You give it a name, and then once again you decide where it should live in that left-hand menu. All right, so now we can save it. All right, so let's publish it. Now once we publish it, you guys, it's going to take us into this Manage Pages area, and the Manage Pages once again is extremely permission based, so you guys as power users have access to the Manage Pages area. Approved authors and authors also have access to that, okay, and that's obviously underneath Administration Manage Pages. Now Grace, you did exactly what I was going to have you do, is basically go into the page like an internet user would do, which is via the category. Now remember, you guys, by default it's always told to redirect on a single page when there's only one page in the category. So that's why it automatically just opened this page. Okay. So you've got your watching your favorite buttons. On the right hand side we've got Grace's image. Okay, we've got the details. I put a mandatory read on there for you. That's interesting. Grace, did it not have that message that stated we had to save it first? Or are you guys in a...
Did.
Huh. All right, we'll have to look at that. Details, obviously, any attachments that you had, any of the documents that were related. Okay, so there's your attachments. There was the link that you provided them. Yeah, your video. Both doesn't look like it's saved. So, and Grace, you do exactly what I do. After I do a build page, anytime I've got links on something, I actually go check and make sure that actually I got them saved. Okay, so obviously there we'd have to go back into the edit mode and make sure that we've got everything in there correctly saved. But your app mention worked. Okay, so we could go to Justine's contact information if we wanted to. And then, oh, let's test out your hyperlink. Towards the top, remember you had some text? Yeah, so for more information. So remember this, and then it would bring you down maybe, who knows, 5 or 6 paragraphs down. So at least now you could read this information. So that was initially we created an anchor, then we selected some text and then created a link to the anchor.
Yeah.
All right, excellent job on that. Oh, good, we got the Hive recommends. So I like that terminology over there. All right, up to this point, you guys, anything that I can clarify?
No, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let me, we're a little bit past the top of the hour. You guys need 10, 15-minute break. What do you guys need?
Just power on. Yeah. Yeah, we'll just have 5 minutes to go to the loo.
Okay, perfect. All right, will you let me know when you guys are ready to go again?
Okay. Hello, Sherry?
Yes, I'm back. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Grace, go back into the test category, the very first one you created there. And I want to go back into the edit mode of that page. All right, let's go back to the Features tab.
Loading.
And then once it loads here, I want to go back to that Features tab and look at that mandatory read. So yours might be set up just a little differently. As soon as you put that check in there, you know, it thinks that you want a mandatory read. So that would be good to know that, you know, really, you know, kind of be careful, I guess, when you're selecting that. Try refreshing your site, Grace, and let's see if we can force that page to load a little faster.
Our internet stopped responding.
Okay. All right, so okay, now it looks like it's thinking about working again.
Look at the old one.
Right. This is just in document library.
Yeah, so Grace, after you log back in, if it's still, you know, going to cause problems or it's, you know, just really slow or whatever the case may be, we can always, I can switch over to my demo site and, you know, show you the features from there, worst case scenario, but ideally would like to use your site.
Yeah, it's saying I don't have internet, actually. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, maybe switch over to...
Okay, not a problem.
Okay, how do I do that? Sharing.
All right, so I'm going to make myself a presenter here. All right, can you see my screen okay?
It's just the white thing. Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so once again, you guys, I'll just go into this Manage Pages area here. And in this area, real quickly, before I just select a page, okay, in the Manage Pages area, obviously you can see all pages that you are, in essence, kind of the author of, all pages that, so if I've got this content area where I've got Derek and Justine both kind of working with pages, I can see everybody's within here. And I can also see any mandatory reads that were pushed out from this particular content area. So if I go into, let's see, this one here, I know I don't have a mandatory read on, or I shouldn't anyway. Okay. All right, so when I go back into the edit mode, I'm just going to go to features here. There's the mandatory read. Okay, where it says manage mandatory read, that allows me to determine who it actually should go out to. Now, there's two type of lists. Now, I don't know which one you guys have, but when you open it up at some point in time, it's either an exclusion or an inclusion. Okay, so if you have an inclusion list, it's very similar to like when you use Outlook and you invite people to a meeting, or so an inclusion list is you include the people that the mandatory read should be assigned to. Here, if it reads exclusion, it goes to everybody, but then you exclude, maybe it shouldn't go to anybody in the marketing department, so they would be excluded from receiving the mandatory read. Okay, so it'll really just depend on how yours is set, inclusion versus exclusion. Okay, so then once you've identified, then you click on add, and then you notice up in here, once you've identified the groups, okay, or individuals, whatever the case may be, you still have a last second chance to decide if, did you really mean to exclude this group or not, okay? Or if it's an inclusion, did you really mean to include the marketing department? So you can still delete at this point in time. Once you're okay with your list, then you basically click on Save, and that's the actual process for setting up a mandatory read. So it depends on if you have an exclusion or an inclusion list. Okay, really, that's the only difference. Okay? Now, the other thing, and I won't know unless we were actually looking at your site, do you guys use quizzes on any of your pages?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay. Well, let me show you how it works, and that way if you decide to, you can. So if I want to include a quiz, okay, so once again, I click Manage the Quiz. I give it a brief description. So this would be the message if they pass it, message if they fail it.
Try again.
Yeah, try again. There you go. Try again. You failed. Okay, so let them know that they failed it. By default, it's a 70%, so they'd be a C student. You can always bump it up, drop it, depending on what you want. Priority, honestly, they don't know. When they get to a page, they have no clue. So this is what they call one of those legacy features. And so when the newer versions kind of came out, it was something that most likely didn't get really utilized or anything like that. So even though it's still here, it really doesn't do anything. So I always just kind of like to point that out because people get confused with that. So on a page, you have no clue if it's a priority. Now, if you use the widget, there's a widget, and it's actually, it might be called like the quiz widget or something like that. You can set it to pull in, based off of that, but otherwise it's really a legacy feature. You can have it where if they pass it, let me move this over here. Maybe it goes to, oops, business development. Okay, so maybe this person here should get notified if they pass it. And it could be the same person if they pass or fail it, or it could be completely somebody different. So you can set that up. Okay, who to notify if they pass it or don't. Mandatory, don't confuse this with a mandatory read, completely different. Mandatory reads are nice because they have their own little icon associated with it. Okay, and it's very visual. There's actually a widget, the timeline widget, that brings mandatory reads to the forefront. Here, the only way to really let people know that they have a quiz is, once again, there's that widget. And so if I'm logged in and I look at the widget, if I've been basically assigned a quiz to take, it would give me the page and I could click it and it goes and opens up the page. If Justine, let's say, was not assigned to take the quiz, when she looked at the widget, there would be nothing in it for it to display. Okay, so the widget is really the only way to make it visual. Okay, so it's a little different than obviously a mandatory read, but you could identify here, who has the ability to take the quiz when they get to the page. Okay, so that's the ability there. So for today's purposes, I'll leave it at all users. And then it's going to be active, and then it's going to save it. So the first page, not a big deal. Then you get to add the question. Now there's two types of questions, a single versus a multi-answer. Single, there's only one answer that would be correct. Can I? Learning outcome, if it's a really difficult question, it's almost like providing them with a little helpful hint, okay? And then you okay, option in. Okay, so identify some page features. This will be a multi because I can have multiple correct answers here. So Default to full width is an option. I can set a mandatory read. That's an option. I can do a quiz. Set permissions. That is not correct. I cannot do that here. And then, let's see. I will just keep it at that for now. All right, so these three are correct. That I cannot do. And then I can click Save. Okay, so I've got 2 questions. Now, there's a Reports tab, which is kind of a nice little feature. This one here basically shows me my 2 questions, and it's going to eventually tell me, you know, the 80% got question 1 right, 20% got it wrong, so it's going to break it down per question, which allows me to determine maybe do we need to do some more training on this particular question. If 20% only got it right, I might, you know, trigger something for training, or I might have to review it and look at my question, and maybe I just threw them off. Okay, so it literally is going to break it down. You can export the results if you need to. The user one, which is good, you need to remember the user reports tab here. At some point in time when people go out and actually take the quiz, okay, it's going to then provide you with a list who's taken it. So Derek goes out, it show his name here, and say he passes it. In nice pretty green letters that says passed. Justine goes out and takes it, she passes. So it's going to show a list of people who have basically passed and failed it. I go take the quiz, and if it says failed, it's in nice bright red letters. Then to the right of the failed is the ability to reset the quiz for me. Okay, so this is your ability to reset quizzes if somebody fails it and you want them to be able to take it over again. Because otherwise, you guys, every time they go to that page, it's going to give them the failed message until they're allowed to retake it. Okay, so that's probably the biggest one. Remember the reports so that you can actually reset it for somebody. All right, so that's the main stuff I need. I'll just make sure I did get it saved. Pretty sure I did. Okay. And the last thing in here I'll just show you is a poll. Really easy to create. Takes you about a minute. So I give it a question. Okay. So basically, you know, was this page helpful? And once again, I can say yes. But at least 2 are required. I can have up to 5, and I can save it. Okay, so I can create a poll really quick. All right, let me publish that. And I'll just put, I put in a mandatory read, quiz, and I did a poll. Or pool, either one. Now, wouldn't that be nice to be able to create a pool so you could go swimming at any point in time during work?
Yeah.
All right, so I believe it was my embed form that I just worked on there. Hope I went through the actual, what's category? Vacancies is where that's saved. Let me just make sure that was the page. Yeah, okay, so I put it in vacancies. Okay, so let's go into my vacancies category. All right, so this one right here. Okay, so it shows it's a mandatory read. Okay, so there's that mandatory read. Okay, so this is a great example of why you don't use the default full width feature. That couldn't have worked out any better if I would have planned that. All right, so here we got that mandatory read in there. So once I've read it, I can mark it off. All right, so I'll go ahead and just mark that off. Here's the quiz. It says click to complete the quiz. It says, can I embed a form into this page? We'll say yes. And let's say I get this one wrong. So I put this. Okay. I can always put the long quiz. All right, so there's a message. Try again, you failed. Okay, so it tells me that I got 50% and the pass mark was 70. I can always go back and review my answers. Nice thing about it, it tells you which one you got right. Okay. And they'll let you know which one you didn't do so well on. Okay. I do like the fact that it identifies correct versus incorrect. Okay. Right. Then there's the poll. Okay, so then when people come to the poll, they can literally just kind of, they don't have to participate in it, but they can. Okay. Now, going back to the quiz and the actual mandatory read. So we'll do the mandatory read first. Okay. At some point in time after you've pushed a mandatory read out, you want to know who's read it and who hasn't read it. And most likely send out a reminder to some of those individuals. Now, you can do it in a couple different places. I think the most efficient way is here under Manage Pages. There's that Mandatory Reads tab. it's going to show you all the mandatory reads that were pushed out in your content area. Okay, so here it shows that basically 1 has read it, 51 have not read it. So if I want to send out a reminder, okay, these numbers are clickable. So when I click on 51 here, you can see that everybody else obviously has not had a chance to read it. So I can select them, and then there's the ability to, where's it at? There it is, send a reminder. Okay, so once again that would go via email as well as that notifications bell icon. Now the other thing I like about this area is not only can I send reminders to people, but I can also export this list if I need to. So maybe after the 3rd time you've sent a reminder, you've still got a couple people that just refuse to read it. Well, if needed, you could export the list, maybe and print it and keep it as a copy or something. Okay, so you can export. So it doesn't matter. Any one of these numbers are clickable. So here you can see when I read it, okay, August 9th. My time zone is off. It's not 11:28 my time. It's actually 5:30 my time. Oh, I bet on my profile wall, on my demo site, I haven't set my mountain time zone. So that's why it's giving me a weird time on there. So like I said, you guys, there's multiple places that you can identify mandatory reads. Like I said, under the administration manage pages area, you can push reminders out as well as export. Now on the page itself, okay, so if I go back in and I'm looking at the page, so I go back into this category here and I go to the embed form one. As a power user, you'll notice that there's the page analytics here. As a power user or an administrator of your area, you'll see all options here, which means you would see the mandatory reads. The typical internet user, if they ever click on that button, they would only see the top 2. Okay, so they don't see everything in here. But in here would be another way that I could get some really just quick information. And then in the more details, here's my ability to select the people who haven't read it. And then, so here, this person here hasn't read it. Once again, I can do that, kind of select all, and then I can send a reminder. So I can send reminders from the page kind of analytics area, but I can't export from here. Okay, so that's the only downfall. Okay, but either way, whatever kind of works for you. I just click that button again and it closes it. All right, so that's mandatory reads, how to push them out and then identify who's read them and who hasn't, generate notifications. Now I'm going to go back into the edit mode of this and we're going to go look at that quiz. So remember, if I need to take it, remember I'm always going to see that fail message until you remember to reset it for me. So I need to go back to the features tab. I would go back into the actual quiz. Okay. There's that reports tab. Okay, so there's the breakdown of the question so far. Obviously I'm the only one that's taken it. Here's the user report. Here's that nice red failed message. I click that. It says by resetting this allows you, you're allowing this user to retake it. Are you sure you wish to? Say yes. And notice I'm no longer in there. And then when I go back to that page again, I would then be able to retake the quiz. Okay, so if they fail it, you have to reset it for them. Okay. And then you've got the poll. Okay. All right, any questions on any one of these features?
No. Oh, good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, a couple other things in here, you guys. So those are your different features in here. I do want to show you, before, obviously, the internet and things over there just kind of froze up on you a little bit. We had done the build page, which I always like to start with because it takes the longest because it's got the editor and I go through kind of everything in detail. Now, some of your content you may not necessarily want to build and you just want to upload. So let me just show you that. Doesn't take long. It's actually very easy. So once again, it would start the same way. It's underneath administration. You go to add page. Okay, but this time I would choose upload as opposed to build. Now the only difference, you guys, everything is the same. Still have to have a title, still has to have a summary. Guess what? Still has to live in a category. I can build out a new one if for some reason I don't have one already pre-built. Still get to determine author versus owner, choose my associated image. Still can have attachments that I can browse out to and provide. Guess what? All the same features. Key pages, default to full width. Discovery, once again, for additional keywords, relationships, and where those are links, but they're for links for internal pages. and then the Dates tab. So the only thing different is instead of having an editor sit here, you actually have the ability just to drag, click, and basically upload or drag and drop something in here. Okay, so that is really the only difference. And it shows really nice. So that's, let me just throw it into, now we'll just throw it into this very top one here. I'm just going to publish it. That's technically all I need is title, summary, obviously the document uploaded. So now if we look at this PTO, I think that's where I placed it. Okay, so there's my AD config one. So now when they open it, because it's an upload, the only thing difference is it's going to now open into the viewer. Okay. They can click here where it says upload, and then it would open it. It would basically download it into, you know, the format that it was created in. So if it was a Word document, it would open up in Word and things of that nature. Now, if something changes in this particular document, okay, a step has changed for the AD configuration. Well, in order to make that change, I would have to go to where it truly lived, my desktop or, you know, a particular C drive in a folder. I have to open up where it truly lives, make my change, resave it. Then what I would need to do is come back into the internet. Now, then either way, I just go into the edit mode, and then I would just basically click, browse out, and go find the newest version of the document. Okay, and it just literally kicks out the old and puts in the new one. Okay. So uploaded content, very easy. Okay. But the disadvantage is if something does change, you have to find the original, make the change, and then re-upload it. Okay. Anytime you build out content, anytime you go into the edit mode, you just make your changes directly into the editor. Okay, so changes, you know, going on later on are obviously a little bit easier when it's an actual build versus the upload. Okay. All right, so that's how easy it is, obviously, for the upload. The other thing I wanted to show you guys is a lot of times you have several pages, okay, several policies that need to go into the same category. You can do them one at a time. You can build them one at a time. You can upload them one at a time, but sometimes you want to upload 10 or 15 very quickly. If you're going to upload, first and foremost, it's a power user permission, and then secondly, it's done at the category. Everything else we've done, we've gone underneath administration and we click the add page button, and then we either build or re-upload. If it's a bulk upload, you actually go to the category itself. So I'm obviously a power user. I can click on this category. And then notice on the right-hand side, since I am a power user, I can see a bulk upload button. Now, fantastic feature. Here's what I like, and then I'm going to tell you what I'm going to counsel you on. So let's say it's all of these information here. Okay, so I've identified what it should be. Okay, so very quick. Please take the time, if you're going to use this feature, to clean it up. Look what it does to the title. Okay, it's activity, you know, Active Directory configuration guide.doc. So clean that up. That's not going to make sense to anybody, okay, or even whatever's going to make sense to them. Once again, take a little bit of time and create a very nice, you know, summary. Okay. Here I obviously have the ability to add an image. Okay. If I don't want to allow comments, I do have that functionality here. If for some reason this one really did maybe go into a different one or whatever the case may be, I can always switch my categories out here. And I can also add my additional keywords. Okay. And then I would literally just go through each one and do that same process. So a great way to move over content very quickly. Now, if one of these ultimately, say for some reason this Jumpstart status Excel spreadsheet or something was to be a mandatory read, I can still have access to all those features, mandatory reads, key pages, any of that. I just have to go back into the edit mode once it's uploaded, and then I still have the tab, you know, to create a quiz on it or a poll or a mandatory read. This is just a very fast way to get a lot of content into a category very quickly. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. I don't want to upload those. Okay, so keep that in mind. You can do a bulk upload, but you have to be a power user and you go directly to the category itself. Okay. Now, the other thing I want you guys to be aware of, so obviously you got to get your content into the internet. Right? Now, some content we know is very important and you cited a mandatory read because you have to be able to track it. Some of your other content in your content area is more important than others, but maybe it's not necessarily a mandatory read. But you want to, once again, help the internet user maybe find it a little better when they do run their search results. So let me give you an example here. So when I go to the community, okay, see across the top here, I'm just going to type in a keyword, widgets. When I hit enter, notice what happens, you guys. I get 411 results back. And over here I can see where those results are coming from. 25, okay, this keyword widget is associated somewhere in 25 different blog posts. It's found in 82 pages. Okay. But notice what it did with this one page. It put a best bet sticker on the page itself, and it forced it to the top out of all 411 results. So you've helped the internet user by saying, most likely if you use this, what we call best bet keyword, this is probably what you're after. This is probably what's going to help you the most. Okay? So I would challenge you guys, as when you're bringing your content over, identify anywhere from 5 to 10 pages in a content area that you would consider kind of a best bet. You know people use it, you know people search on it a lot, okay? It's just good information, and assign it a best bet. Now how you do that, okay? So if I'm in my content area, I think one of the easiest ways is, once again, to go under the manage content area. Once again, power user or an administrator can do it. And then notice here, so remember, you guys, earlier I showed you that every content area, you can actually change your content area settings, but there's also a best bets tab. So this would allow you to see all of the pages that live in this human resources content area. Now what you do is you need to really think like the internet user. So for this one here, if I knew that people just always, they were always asking me to email it to them, and I just knew it was really good information, what I would do is I would create what we call best bet keywords that get associated with the page. So I might just call it, I might put in, Active Directory. AD sync. Let's see what else I've got. Setup guide. Anything that I think that they might use. So I'm going to create best bet keywords. Then what you do is you update it. So then what the system does is it takes these keywords, these best bet keywords that I've assigned to this particular page, and then when somebody uses one of these in this top level search, it will do exactly what you saw on the community. It takes it to the top of all the other search results, and it's going to put that best bet sticker in there. Now it does take it a little bit of time to do that, so even if I saved this right now and I tested it, it wouldn't have enough time to do it. It usually takes a good couple minutes for it to associate those keywords, okay, to the actual page itself. But once you've done that, then like I said, this is the results that you would have. Okay, so fantastic way to help out the internet user. Okay. And like I said, I typically, when I'm going to do that, the reason I like the manage content area is because it then shows you all your pages in here that you could then very quickly determine which ones maybe should be best bets. The other place that you could technically do it is, let's say, for example, I go back to this category and I open up a page. So here, this AD config one, because I'm obviously a power user, or if you were like an administrator, when you actually clicked on, once again, the page analytics, you could then take this page and then add the best bet keywords here. So, but it's only for this page. The other view allows me to go through very quickly and identify maybe 5 or 10. Right? So either way, whatever kind of works for you. Okay, so keep that in mind, best bets. The other couple things, just as a reminder, guys, earlier, remember I went to manage content area, and we had our content area settings. Okay, so we looked at this screen here, page settings, page features. Okay. We've now seen the best bets tab. The keywords tab here, this would be assigning keywords to the actual category itself. So it's not a page. Now, if you want keywords associated to page, you go to the edit mode and you actually add those specific keywords to the actual page itself. This would be actually adding keywords, and when they, same thing, use those keywords here, it would offer up the entire HR category as an option to click on. Okay, so these are actual keywords associated with the actual content area. Now, if you guys end up deciding to use hashtags at some point in time, this is where you have to end up coming. Okay, so say for example, I want to utilize the hashtags in my HR content area for my content creators. A couple things I can do. I can create my own hashtags for them. So I basically create a hashtag, click add, and it generates a list. Okay, so hashtag benefits, hashtag careers. Okay, you can always create that. Now notice there's two checkboxes here. If I put this in here, it's doing exactly that. I'm requiring them to create a hashtag before they can actually publish the page. Okay, so be careful of that one. Here, by default, when you come in here, this is unchecked. Right now, if I left it the way it is, and I created a list for them, when you go back into the edit mode and you clicked in that hashtags, it would actually provide a drop down. Now, you would have to choose from my list, okay, or you don't choose anything in essence. If I put this component to it, not only can they choose from my list, but they can actually now create their own hashtags if they want to. Okay, so the ability to add hashtags within the composer. Okay. All right, so I've created a list in there. So when I save that, okay, so it looks like let me just come back into that. Okay, so there's my list. So when I go into, let's say, an edit mode of a page real quick, I'll just go into any one of these. And I go back to the Discovery tab. Right. There's that drop-down now list. So they could technically pick one of these. Now notice if I try to create one on my own, hashtag jumpstart, okay, I can't do it because I didn't put that check mark in there providing the ability to create the hashtags. Okay, so either choose from my list or you don't put anything in there at all. Okay. So at some point in time, if you decide to do that, remember it does have to be turned on, and it's done in the actual content area settings area, okay, or the manage content area.
That's probably something we're going to have.
It's not running.
No.
No, not. That's okay.
Okay. All right, you guys, that is everything within the content author training, uploading, building, the editor, mandatory reads, quizzes, polls, showing how to create those best specs, which is really nice for the internet user. Bulk upload, remember, has to be done from the actual category itself. Do you have any, specific questions, that maybe didn't get a chance to ask while I was actually demonstrating thing, or any other questions pop up at this time?
Just on your intranet, if you scroll up, sorry.
Did I go high enough for you or too high?
Yeah, just to this department.
Yeah.
Like, is that just a content area and then you've put, like, because I think what I did, I made teams and then built a blog page off the teams, but in departments, can you have blogs for each department in there?
Teams can have blogs, so you're correct with that.
Yeah.
And the other place, and individuals can blog.
Okay,
so
so I did it right.
You did it right.
We wanted our team, like we wanted the department to have a blog, so department heads, but it's going to be in one area rather than an individual blog. Okay. Yeah,
so teams can blog, so they can have their own kind of team voice. Now, an individual, let's say you've got 3 or 4 people, maybe like the head of HR, head of IT, maybe the CEO or something like that, and you would like to give them the ability to blog, but yet you don't want to give them that almighty power user, because remember, you guys, a power user can blog from day one. It's just a part of that permission. So what I can do, though, if I want to hand out, say, blogging rights to a few people, what I can do is I can go to the application settings. Now the key to this is remembering that blogging actually gets associated to the profiles. So for example, if I click on my profile, it takes me to my profile wall. That's where the blogging gets associated. Okay, so the blogging permission is tied to the actual people directory. Okay, it's a part of your profile. So if I did want to hand it out to a few other people that weren't power users, what I could do is go to where it says Manage Top Menu. Find
I think we made last week we made everyone bloggers, which is fine. That's what we wanted. I was just confirming that the content area of the departments didn't have a blog for each department, because then I would have changed how I structured our top menu. That's all. But that's
Nope,
fine.
sounds like you did great. Nope, you did good.
Okay. Alrighty. No worries. Other than that, I'm good.
Just leave your contact details.
Yeah.
All right, anything else, Justine, Derek, Peter, Grace? Any other questions that you may have?
No, I
think we're okay. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Well, you guys, it was nice to work with you again. Enjoy the rest of your day, and Grace, as always, remember to shut the recording off.
Yeah, doing it now.